Start coming in any minute now.
Sweet.
Yeah. So
Stream
how's everything?
is good. It's a, you know, weird, weird
Yeah.
time. You have one coach for 7 years, then
Yeah. Well, you already know how I feel. Don't you
I
ain't
don't
gonna get no violins from me.
know. No,
You
I
might get a
mean,
banjo.
it's banjo.
Well. Welcome everybody. This is real time. Is actually August the 25th, and normally I do a show Monday, Wednesday, Friday, but I reached out to a good person in the media, real good dude, knows his stuff, Sixers insider. He writes for the Painted Lines. He does a lot. He connects with a lot of writers, has a lot of input, and I just simply asked him, "Hey man, I'm coming to you first. What you think?" And he said, "Let's do it." And I appreciate that. The one and only Jay Blevins up in the house. Going to hit us with some Sixer stuff. Going to break down what we found out from Elton Brand today and what's going to happen in the future and what happened in the past. And as you see, we got another special guest. My
All
son just woke
right.
up. What up, Jay?
Hey, thanks for having me. I think we've been talking about doing this for a couple months, right?
Oh yeah, because I had your understudy on first, and then Austin Krell, and he blew it, telling us that Doug Peterson was that Brett Brown was the better coach than the one that just got out of here. No, he said Brett Brown was a better coach than Doug Peterson.
Mm.
Yeah, but he came on and he apologized for it, and we appreciate that a lot.
Well, I
So
mean that's
that
that's key right now. Is I think everybody should be acknowledging their mistakes, and I think Elton Brand today acknowledged some mistakes, and
hmm
um, I think everyone in that organization and everyone in our organization and all of us should constantly be thinking about what we've done, what we were right about, what we were wrong about, um, instead of digging our heels in and trying to somehow twist the truth. So I'm glad that Austin came on and stood up and said he was wrong. That's good.
yeah. So let's get right to it.
Okay.
My first question is why now and not 3 years ago when they lost to Boston?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think that you had two guys that were essentially rookie slash near rookies. That was their first trip to the playoffs. They got smacked in the face with a different style of defense. And I think Brett is a he is a motivator, and I think they wanted to give him the opportunity. And then last year, he was very much on the hot seat heading into the playoffs. But and I think back to the return day after Toronto, and he just looked exhausted in Toronto. I was in Toronto for Game 7. He was absolutely exhausted. But you looked in the locker room then, and I know it's been talked about a lot, but the emotions that were happening in the locker room in that moment, in that hour after that game, you just felt like there was still a chance for them to just move on from it. And Brett came back to training camp or the media luncheon energized, but I think he was almost fired last year. I think if they had lost in 5 last year to Toronto, or even in 6, he would have been fired last year. I've gotten that directly from people that know his job was very much in jeopardy. And then this
With
year, there was no question he had to make the NBA Finals to save his job.
but with that question said, Jay, if you know last year it was hashtag run it back. I mean, when that team was put together, uh people were saying they was either the very best team in the NBA conference or a top 3 team in the whole NBA. So if that was the mindset of Brett, finals or bust, How can you sell me Jimmy Butler gone, JJ Redick gone, Al Horford as the replacement? How can you sell me that and think that he was going to get to the finals with that, with with those pieces?
I think they hung their hat on the cliff that the team fell off when Joel Embiid went to the bench. So all through the playoffs and really all through his entire career, Joel Embiid plays, he goes to the bench, the other team, it's a track meet to the rim. And I think they convinced themselves that Horford was enough of a team-oriented guy, a versatile enough guy to play 4 and 5. So that when Joel hit the bench, they wouldn't have that Greg Monroe or Boban, or you go back through the years, that just complete cliff that they would fall off of. So I think they viewed one, they just, Jimmy was a problem. Like I was getting Jimmy as a problem from by February of that year. So he came in, I think, December. By February, I was hearing, there are some real clashes, not just with the coaching staff, because that would have been easy. I think you could have easily said, okay, Jimmy's teammates love him, and he doesn't like the scheme. He doesn't like to switch everything 1 through 4. Batman style defense, so he doesn't buy into a lot of the stuff. But not all of Jimmy's teammates loved him. I think there was a lot of stuff where he would say things for us and make great quotes about his work ethic and just wanting to win and doing whatever it takes. But on the back end, what I was hearing was, he took shortcuts in training and didn't exactly practice what he preached in practice. And then the play styles with him and Ben Simmons just didn't match at all, right? You got to give him the ball, and he's kind of playing point forward. Then what do you do with Ben Simmons? The interesting thing, though, is they bring in Horford, they let JJ Redick go, and then they switch up the defense. They actually implemented some of the things that Jimmy was calling for throughout that season. And we would hear him before games talking to assistant coaches on the sidelines about certain rules that they would have on switching that he didn't like. So I don't know. I think each of the decisions in isolation could be defended, but when you look at the whole mix of it, just didn't. It obviously was a bunch of mistakes.
Okay, let's jump forward to today.
Mm-hmm.
What stuck out to you about Elton's press conference? Because I'm gonna tell you what stuck out to me.
Yep.
The fact that he kept saying, "We're going to get some basketball people in this building." Is that to say that he really didn't mesh with Brett's dependence on analytics, where it would say Shake and Raul is okay to play next to each other, when the basketball mind says hell no? So what did you take from Elton Brand's press conference today?
Yeah, I think you hit on the exact thing, that the number one takeaway was that, he mentioned the two in tandem twice. He said, we have a good analytics department, but we need some basketball minds, which to me speaks to the, on paper, giving up long twos is the right play over a long period of time. But in a game, in the final 2 minutes, if it's a 1-point game or in a short series, buckets are buckets, especially in a shooter's gym like in Orlando. So when you throw everything into a spreadsheet and you run all the numbers, he was absolutely right. But they were so rigid with their rotations. You could predict exactly what time of the game he would come off the floor. You could predict, and this is the same thing I had with Gabe Kapler, which was, it's one thing to know all the math. It's like if you ever play poker, right? It's one thing to know the math. You can be a competent poker player by knowing all the basic math of poker. But once everyone knows the math, then you're playing against the opponent again. And if the opponent knows you're going to operate based on a spreadsheet, then they know exactly where their soft spots are going to be and where they can get those shots and what they can do to attack you. So I think what he's looking for is more tactical adjustments from a head coach to win individual games. And I think that's the balance that I think the entire league is caught up to analytics. They all know the math. So now you're playing the player again. Now you're playing against your opponent again. That's just where this has come to.
And with that said, you for people don't know, man, you made your bones with the Delaware Blue Coats. You're a grinder, so you knew Shake Milton. You know all these guys that's coming up. You know what they're capable of and what's being said in that building. With that being said, the conversations you've had with Elton, putting Jay on the spot, who do you think are the top 3 candidates on Elton Brand's list? Who's an Elton Brand guy going forward for the Sixers?
For a coach?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I think Tyronn Lue is number 1. And I think he is the most likely candidate. I think the clutch sports connection with Ben Simmons makes him the obvious number 1. There are a lot of things that he's got tactically and around how he approached some of those playoff series that make him attractive to the clutch camp. If you go after that, I think that a lot of people have been talking about Stan Van Gundy, and the argument for Stan Van Gundy is that he's had real success with big men before, and maybe you need someone that really knows how to cater to the skill sets of Joel Embiid. And then you have a name that just in the last couple of weeks, Dave Jorger, the former Memphis Grizzlies, Jorger, right?
It's like Jaeger or something like that. Yeah,
Jägermeister. So, so he did some interesting things with the Kings, and he was the coach of Marcus Saul, who is Joel Embiid's sort of
arch nemesis,
but also mentor in many ways.
Yes.
If you ask Joel Embiid, like, who's the guy that you're going to learn the most from and pattern your game after, it's going to be Marcus Saul. People think of him like Shaq or like Hakeem, but I mean, I think Embiid now sees Marcus Saul as sort of the archetype of what he'd like to become. So you have those 3 options, and then there's Ime Udoka, who was the defensive coach for the Sixers, came in last summer, really switched up a lot of the defensive things that they were doing, but you just saw how that, how much of that was the coach sticking to principles and how much of it was him just not getting guys to learn the rules. I don't know. So I know that's 4, but those are the 4 I would think.
And to follow up with that, Jay, immediately after the news came that there was mutual interest, you already know it was split, and I'm being kind. It's people that believe that, I mean, unless he's bringing LeBron with him, why? It's people that's split about if he's that good, how come when they went about 0-6, he was fired immediately after LeBron left? And you got some people that's saying he's not a culture guy. And then you got people saying, okay, he's clutch, so that's good for Ben. But then you got Stan, who's a big man, that's good for Embiid. Once again, we got the whole Joel versus Ben. Whose team is it? Who's going to get the call? And I want to top that with, is Ben and Joel coach? What are you hearing? Really? Like the nitty-gritty. What is the deal with those 2?
I mean, I've said this before. This is my take on the 2 of them. They don't dislike each other. They don't have a lot of common ground. So, you could argue the only thing that they have in common is that neither of them were born in the U.S. I mean, honestly, what else do they have in common, really? Right? So
Yeah.
Ben Simmons was born with a basketball in his hand. He has been thinking this game since he was a toddler, right? This game is innate to him. He sees all of the passing lanes. He sees all of the angles. He knows all of this stuff because he is a basketball lifer. It is just baked into him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Professional dad, been around the game, a really really good sister. I think people talk about his sister's online personality, but she is a really good basketball player. Older sister beating up the younger kid. That's how somebody really learns this game, right? By getting their ass kicked at like 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah, my dad's strength.
That's strength, right? Full man strength. And then you have Joel Embiid, who is a middle class kid in Cameroon playing soccer, playing volleyball, and defensively, volleyball really translates pretty well. But and you could argue that soccer translates from a passing angle standpoint pretty well. But he's a 7'2" guy. Offensively, he is very skilled with the fine motor skills, but and defensively, he sees the floor. But offensively, he doesn't. And you see this guys stand around when he's got the ball in the post because he's not. He doesn't have that LeBron-esque Ben Simmons sort of beautiful mind for
Yeah.
the orchestra that's happening, right? So I just don't think they have a lot of common ground. I don't think their personalities are very similar. One likes to go out, one likes to go home and play FIFA. One can talk about the game in tremendous detail, but doesn't want to. Right? That's Ben. And Joel, if you get him talking, he'll talk about anything, even contradict himself in one sentence. So there's not a lot of common ground. You're going to need a coach that, and I think going back to Brett's firing, I think the biggest shortcoming in Brett was he talked too much. And I know how this is because I talk too much too. And he never forced those two to talk to each other. So the next coach really should be someone that, in my opinion, forces those guys to figure stuff out. And I wouldn't at all be surprised if the next coach comes in and it's a disaster and they're gone in a year or two. But the next guy may inherit that sort of all that conflict that they had to resolve. And the next guy after that might inherit something that they finally figure out. And we talk about Doug Peterson. Think about Chip Kelly in between Andy Reid and Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson's not that different from Andy Reid. But Andy Reid had lost the locker room because you only have so many catchphrases and sayings, and you can only say horses for courses and the Brett Brown isms for so long before they tune you out. Then you throw Chip Kelly in there, who has a lot of ruthlessly logical ideas that make sense, but he just turns everyone off. And then Doug Peterson walks in, basically a carbon copy of Andy Reid, and now everybody wants to play for him. Hungry dogs run faster, Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if this next coach is really a not the final guy. I could be wrong.
So if that's Tyrone Lue, then you're talking about he'll be out. I
don't think Tyrone Lue. I mean, look at my first initial reaction with Tyrone Lue is the first time they have a problem, the memes are just going to be outrageous. He is the guy in the step over, and Philly's not going to forget that.
I don't understand how he can be the first pick like that. I just didn't see. I know.
He's highly respected. In fact,
I get it.
Offered the Lakers job, but demanded that he be able to hire all of his own assistants. And because they didn't give him that, he turned the job down.
So is the Sixers going to do that?
Well, they pretty much did that for Brett, I believe.
Don't. Oh my God. Okay, Jay. How about this? What because we're running up against it. What everybody wants to like, it's a joke that they say, you got talk radio here. Ben and Joel can't play together. This, that. You got broadcaster who pretty much is auditioning for the job, saying how they will play them together. Overall, with your talking to people in the biz, what is the general perception of Joel and Ben Simmons together? What are coaches saying? If I had these two,
Mhm.
I would do this, or are they saying those two can't do it?
It's a mix. I think every coach dreams of having a superstar, and the idea of having two two superstars is like mouth-watering to any coach, and they believe in their ability to figure it out, right? These guys were either coaches from very early in life, or they were very successful players that could think the game. And if you've been a successful player at a high level, you know how much gravity superstar players in a 5-on-5 game can have. It's not football, it's not baseball. It's like only five people, like one guy that's 50% better than everyone else can completely change games. So the idea that they have two of those, I think that's really attractive. I don't think there's anybody that is saying, I'll take the job if you trade one of those two. I think anybody that would want that job would want those two and try to figure it out.
In your opinion, and what you're hearing, and what Elton said, because they could say two things at once. Will Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid be teammates next year?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think so. I think that, if there is a coach that comes in and knocks everyone's socks off and somehow convinces ownership that one of these two guys just can't do it, and they have to get return on value. But when you look at just the economics of the thing, I dug up the operating revenue for the team, and it's been a steady, straight up since those two got together. They sell jerseys, they sell tickets, they are on ESPN every day, right? They're being talked about, not just in Philly, but around the country. So they have at least one more year together.
Okay. Over under. Okay, I'm not gonna do over under, but how fast does Elton get this head coaching search wrapped up?
It's a good question. They have to figure out when free agency is, because I think they probably want a coach to talk about what kind of pieces you need, what ingredients you need in the kitchen. So they need to make decisions on guys like, Glenn Robinson. Do they offer him? Where do they spend a mid-level exception? They need to get feedback on, how would you utilize those two? And not just conceptually, because, conceptually it all makes sense to me. If you can get a defensive rebound and get out on the break, Ben Simmons runs the break. If
it's half court,
if you get half court, it's now Joel's team in half court on offense. But, they tried that. So this next coach is going to have some counters and some counter moves. And if they stop this, and if they're blitzing, then, let's try from a different spot, or, all of the different things that they need to do. So I forget the question now, but
no, you had it. You had it. That's what I asked. Okay. We got you for a couple minutes here before you gotta go. So let's have some fun here. You're a music guy. We go at it back and forth about music all the time. So I did Mertitas the same way. Best guitarist ever.
It's funny. My son did a project on this, so we really looked at this a few different ways, and I don't think there's any. Here, let me give you my top three. because I think
Okay.
the easy answer is Jimi Hendrix is the number one, because I think he has both the chops and the iconic riffs. But my number two and three really would be Keith Richards, because even though he's not a technically great guitar player, he plays songs that when you hear it, bum 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 no
He's an
no
excellent
no no
songwriter.
no,
Yes.
simple, but
Yeah.
always it's inside of everyone's brain.
That's what pop records are, right?
Absolutely. And then Eddie Van Halen, I think, really, again, if you
Oh.
go through their catalog, it's still like he's super technically sound, and yet you think about a Van Halen song and you just you know those riffs. They're in your brain. So those would be my top three, and number four would be Prince. Not
Listen.
not this Prince, but the Prince, the Minnesota
I
Prince,
was gonna say thank you.
the Prince of
But
Minnesota.
whew, okay, I get you, but my top three, Jimmy Page gotta be in there.
Mm,
Hendrix is there. And then I gotta put Prince in my top three because
he can do it all.
he could do it all and he was in everybody's home. Like Prince wasn't in, I mean, let's say Jimmy Page wasn't in my homeboy's house, but Prince was. You see what I'm saying? Like he just transcended so many genres that you would hear it and you'll be like, oh man, Prince. Okay. Yeah, I like Prince. So that's why he's always going to be in any list I got.
Yeah,
Um,
I just heard a story last night from, gosh, who was it? One of the late night hosts, and he told this story about being backstage and going to this show, just a small like theater show in LA, for some singer, and there's this rumor that Prince would be there, and he might even sit in with the band. Um, and so he's backstage, and there's Prince, and Prince is air drumming to the song, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, Prince, are you going to play?" He's like, "No, I'm just here to watch. Just have
he's a
fun."
savant.
And he said,
He's
he's like, "But you're not going to play. I mean, look at it. You're really into this song." He's like, "No, no, 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 no." And while he's saying, "No, no, no, I'm just here to watch. I'm just here to enjoy it," a guitar tech is putting a guitar on him, and then
he
he walks out. He walks out on the stage and starts playing.
he
The guy,
always does that. He he's a he's always been a feel type of guy. He's all about energy. If your energy's off, he's not going to play with you. So him sitting down and getting that energy, he was like, do I want to go or
Mhm,
not? He saw that they was jamming, they was pure to the music,
mhm. So
and there you go.
what's your top three Prince songs?
uh Scandalous, Let's Go Crazy,
Okay.
and I'm actually gonna go Adore. um I love the riff to Let's Go Crazy. And I love the beginning of it because it was sort of like a church sermon type thing.
Really,
And
beloved,
then at the and
we're
then at the
gathered
end,
here
he
to
just
celebrate a thing called life.
everybody's done that. You're done. Down, 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 down. I mean,
Mhm.
he's just awesome. Those are my top three songs.
I would go When Doves Cry, Little Red Corvette, and I gotta go Purple Rain. It's so
I know, but
it's epic though.
Purple Rain is very epic, and it remind you know what Purple Rain reminds me of. It reminds me of Bohemian Rhapsody because it's
Yeah.
so long.
Mhm.
People like forget how like great it is. They look at it and they like, is this rock? Like, what is this? But
Mm.
that's exactly what rock and roll is.
Oh,
You can't explain it, but when you hear it, you're like, oh shit, this is rock. This is different.
yep.
That's what rock and roll music was, right? It was rebel music. It was different. So yeah, Purple Rain definitely up there, but those three are just always constantly in my rotation.
Nice. I like that we just named off 6 of his songs.
Yeah.
That means it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. How long we got you, Jay?
I
Let's
got
see.
I have 5 more minutes. Let's do something
Okay,
else.
5 more minutes. Okay. What is if you could change one thing about Twitter, what would it be?
Wow.
Because I'm gonna tell you what
Yeah.
mine is.
Tell me what yours is.
Mine is every year it should be a battle royale. Like if somebody's been in your skin the whole time and they've been talking a whole bunch of shit, you have to meet that person up, meet them in any type of arena, ring,
Mhm.
anything, and just go at it.
Mhm.
And it'll be great. You put cameras in there, be a nice reality show. You can show them training up to the event. Let's say you pick. Let's say you always been talking shit about how you're a better basketball player.
Mhm.
Okay, get your ass on the floor. Or let's say, man, I could whoop your ass. Okay, get in the ring.
Mhm.
I think that's what I'll do about Twitter. That's what I'll
Yeah,
do. It'll be the
I,
Twitter battle royale.
I think that's really smart because I grew up just a big shit talker. In my neighborhood, everything was shit talk, but it was always done in person, and you always had to back it up.
Mm-hmm.
So certain topics would be backed up on the field of play. Certain things would just get you punched. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and Twitter has sort of disconnected that little voice inside people's head, I think, where they, I'm a little heated. Maybe I shouldn't say this, and they don't, but they don't have any of the consequence. So for me, I still talk a lot of shit. Like I was talking a ton of shit on the basketball floor court on Friday. I told a dude that was dunking on pregame, I'd hand him $20 on the spot if he could dunk on me in the game, and I never stopped running my mouth. But
Oh, you talking
that
about
was
athletes? I
public.
thought you was talking shit to other writers. Like, hey, pussy, I write better. I write better
No,
articles than you, sucker.
no, that's totally subjective. I mean, there's different audiences for like. Sometimes I read what I wrote and I'm like, ugh. So I don't even like half of my stuff. So I'm
You're always
certainly
your
not
harshest
talking about
critic.
what's that? I would
You're
hope so.
always your harshest critic.
Yeah. I know what I like to read. I know the tone and the pacing that I prefer, but I think the writing stuff is totally subjective. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
but some things can be sorted out. So back to your point, I would probably, yeah, I don't like the anonymity of it. I don't like the
Troll
burn.
accounts, parody accounts, the burners. Yeah,
Yeah,
I got you.
I probably, but I really like meeting people in person that I've met through those platforms because you get to see the humanity in somebody, and you maybe get to see where their tone is that the
Mm-hmm.
words in the 240 characters don't convey. So I like meeting people.
That's how you and I met. I told you I had an issue with somebody on your staff. You got with me.
Yep.
You saw where I was coming from because at first I was angry with you. Then I
Mhm.
told you why. You found out. You fixed it,
Mhm.
and here we are. That's the
Yep.
beautiful thing about it. But Jay, I don't want to keep you anymore. I appreciate you coming on,
Hey,
and we
thanks for
got to
having
do
me
this
on.
again. And we got to get you and Austin on at the same time because I need to see you guys together duking it out. So
Reaching out, I wouldn't even
yeah,
do that. I wouldn't.
but thank you, brother.
Hey, thank
Keep
you.
up the good work and let everybody know where they can find you real quick.
Painted Lines YouTube, the website, paintedlines.com. I also write for 97.3 ESPN.com, and Twitter, J Blevins NBA. Um, I've saturated the market with myself. So
There you go. That's all
all
you
right,
got to do. If you don't believe in you, who else? All right, Jay.
Thanks.
Be good, man. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Talk soon.
All right, buddy. Talk to you later. All right, people. There you go. You had it here. I had a whole bunch of questions else that I wanted to ask Jay, but he had to go. He got big things. ESPN, all that stuff. So, but I'm grateful that he got on with me. Dropped some good nuggets in there. The Tyrone Lue thing really got me scratching my head because agents run the league. So, that could be Clutch, not from Jay, but Clutch could be putting it out there, it's mutual and shouting out all his virtues and stuff like this. But I know for a fact that that Tyrone Lue is not on top of a lot of people's lists. So, but we'll see shortly. R Drago, hi Fat Boy Slim. I don't know who the fuck you talking about or to. Like, who are you? Like, you. I'm grateful you created a burner just to say something on my show. I'm honored. You know what I'm saying? Um. So let's get into this flyers list that was allegedly sent to um anal insider Kyle Meager about people that can't cheer for the Flyers. Like this dude, man, he would do anything for somebody to like him or retweet something he does. But you know what they do? Instead of retweeting it or liking it, they screenshot it. The analytics don't count towards screenshots, you douche. I couldn't imagine it. I tweet something of 89 billion people in the world, and not one person says, "Ooh, I like this." Oh man, it gotta suck being not liked. God, that man. Whoo-wee. Oh man, I can't believe this shit. Like, and then you gonna try to say it like, so, first of all, who in the business is going to give Kyle Meager anything to tweet out to the masses? Nobody retweets or likes his shit. So who's going to give you anything? You dumb motherfucker. You created an alter ego? That's an insider. What special guest you have on your podcast? Podcast Wars. Okay, Kyle Meager, Flat Podcast. I'm giving you your props or whatever. Who the fuck do you have on? I've had Jason Martinez. I just had Jay Blev. I've had Main Event. I've had Austin Krell coming soon. I got other people lined up too, baby. In the business. Blue checked. Who do you have? Your supervisor at Domino's? Who do you have? Zomp? Oh my god. You're making this too easy, Kyle Meager. Too easy. Too easy. Man, you the oh my god. Kyle, man, it must suck, man. Sometimes I'll be almost like a Smurf Minicule be feeling bad, but then I think about how much of a douche you are, how you disrespected some good people, Nicole Jade, Chizzy, black people in general, and then I realized, fuck you. I want you to feel bad. I want you to never have a friend a day in your damn life. I want you to be Tom Hanks in Castaway. Your only friend is an old pizza box. That's what I want you. That's what I want your friend to be. You in that studio apartment where you got to go into the bathroom to change your mind And I want you to be miserable. And keep saving the world one pizza at a time, you fucking idiot. All right, everybody. That's my little mini rant. I appreciate everybody for joining in on this Sixer special of real time. I hope you guys got some good info out of it. Please hit me up anytime. You know I'll be on Twitter. I'm about to go on there after as soon as I do this because I'm about to fire off some fire. Just keep Kyle on goofy time. You above him, doesn't even deserve your words of energy. Yeah, Z, Z, but Z, you know me more than anybody. I'm petty, man. That's what's on my cup. Shout out to Mal. Mal bought me this cup. Real Time Prince Blue podcast for the petty. I'm just so petty, man. That's gonna be my downfall. I can't let shit go. I can't let it go. I need to listen to Teddy Pendergrass. I need to let it go, man. I just can't. But you're right. That loser. I'm out of here. Y'all be good. I'll be on Twitter in a bit. Kick it with y'all. I'm gonna check out the Phillies, man. I'm gonna holler. Bryce Harper's on fire. Hey, y'all be good. Be safe. Do your thing and watch yourselves out there. All right. Love y'all. Peace.